Da, 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 da. Hey, 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 what's up? All right, I see people have gotten the party started already. Sam, thank you so much for the Go Popular, the Heart Me, 75% of my live goal with the Heart Puffs. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate that. All right, we have Cynthia, liberal from Texas, is here. Johnny A is here. Mike, it looks like Enots. Offs. I'm not sure what that is. Oh, enough PS. All right. Sorry, it took me a second to figure that out. Oh, man. Good evening, Sam. All right. So we've got people coming in. This is good. Not sure yet if I'm going to cover the topic that I thought about. I don't know. We'll see. Because, I'm trying to set up the live shows ahead of time. So I schedule them and you have to pick out a title. So, I picked one out ahead of time and I was like, eh. Then by the time I got to it, I wasn't sure. But anyway, these are first world problems, clearly. All right, so let's see how we're doing here. All right, I have the black across the bottom of the screen on one particular platform so that you can see the comments, because sometimes when you wear something light, people can't see the comments. So, my little hack to get around that. That's mostly because I haven't done laundry. It would be smart for me to do laundry like every week or two, but I usually wait for like a month to do it. It's goofy, I know, but that's just the kind of guy I am. Oh man, all right. So we've got a few folks in here. Remember, if you haven't done so already, do the Daily Heart Me, which is right above my head next to my name. And if for some reason um, you don't see the Heart Me, that's okay. There's a workaround for that. On the bottom row, there is a gift box. You can click on that, and you might have to scroll. You might be able to see it right away, but you might have to scroll and look for Heart Me. 2 words, Heart Me. There's a couple of funky looking hearts in there, so don't get confused. You want Heart Me. Uh, Sweet Devil, thank you for the Heart Me. Appreciate it, and welcome. Oh, Cynthia says, "Oh my God, I have a huge story, so I will make a video in town. It's about a dog and deep love." Okay, that's a heck of a teaser. All right, looking forward to seeing that. Sweet Devil, you love the real life honesty. Well, yeah, I mean, I suppose that I could pretend to be something that I'm not and do that whole creator thing, but it's just not my style. I'm just a big fat talking monkey with opinions. I don't take myself seriously. All right. Yeah, Cynthia, I'm definitely staying tuned. And I trust that you will share that video with me once you make it. Thank you, Sweet Devil. I appreciate returning customers, so to speak. Um, yeah, it honestly amazes me that, people keep coming back over and over again, and in a way, it's very validating. In a way, it's very humbling also. So, I just hope that I continue to earn your interest and provide interesting kind of conversations. I might have one tonight. Unfortunately, Danny won't be here this evening, but um, he did encourage me to talk about this. And, I'd like to have more women up here because this is really a conversation that I would like to have with women. But of course, I'm interested in the opinions of men as well. So, but it is primarily targeted toward women. And it's just really a thought exercise, you know? Because, like I said, I'm not convinced of anything. I'm not like, I don't think that I'm right about everything. I just have ideas that come to me and I like to share them and see what people think. Some people have a hard time with my ideas. Some people understand that they're just ideas. I've learned over the years. But here's what I think about the folks that show up regularly here. You have demonstrated a willingness to open your minds and not be reactionary and not, just fall into despair with a knee jerk reaction. Very often, you folks are very, very clear headed and you give excellent responses. So that's what I'm hoping for today. All right, we're 13 away from that live goal of 100 heart puffs. And I have no doubt that that will be dispatched forthwithly. Or is it forthwith? I don't know. I'm not British from the 17th century, so I'm not sure. Oh, Ava, thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right, there's a few people in here. We're already at 4,000 likes, so it's a decent start. Captain Long is here. Carl is here. Eric 50 is here. Lori Catlin? Can't see. Sorry. I actually do need new glasses, and I've needed them for quite some time now and just haven't made the appointment. This is my real crushing laziness at work here. But we have Patricia, Anthony, Kay. All right. Got a bunch of people here. So the first thing I'm going to do is play a post that I made, I think it was yesterday or the day before. I'm not sure. It was within the last 3 days. And I didn't want to I didn't want to bring it up here on Chill Saturdays. So I figured, let me try for a Monday. All right. So this might be challenging for some of the women. So, just letting you know in advance. But I'm not doing it to be provocative and I'm not doing it to be insulting. I really want to have a conversation about this. All right. I will reset my goal. Danny's much better at this than I am. He resets his goal, lickety split. I sometimes let a long time go by. Well, let's see. We went from heart puffs, so let's do roses. Why not? And I'll do 100. 100 roses. Boom. All right. Okay, so enough of that. Let me get to the video that I want to play. I think it's set up correctly, so here we go. It's all women until it's no women. Let's talk about it. Women have lied to the police. Women have lied in civil court. Women have lied in family court. Women have lied in divorce court. Women have lied in criminal court. Women have lied about a man being the father of their child. Should men say they can't believe all women until no women lie? Do you see the logical fallacy there? Is it the same logical fallacy that's contained in "it's all men until it's no men"? Please discuss in the comments. All right, there we are. All right, ladies, your thoughts. Obviously, it would be easier if you came up and shared your thoughts in a conversation, but if you want to do that in the comments, please do. And any guys that have any feedback on this, of course. Let's see. Lori said I was close enough. Okay, so now I see it looks like Lori Calfin. Sweet Devil says she needs a minute. Take your time, of course. Okay. Let's see. Got a few comments. Eric 50, thank you very much for coming in and looking at my videos. I appreciate it. Oh, of course. I like good content, and I am I'm happy to support other creators. All right, I got it, Lori. Thank you. And Cynthia says she needs a minute as well. All right, good. That means that my post was provocative, but again, not provocative in a mean way. I didn't do this just to get a rise out of anybody. I certainly don't want to hurt anybody's feelings or upset anybody, but I am aware that this is a sensitive subject. But I also am aware that sometimes cultures fall into fads that are not necessarily productive. So the guys are keeping their mouth shut. That's kind of funny. They're probably like, "Oh no, we're taking our time on this. We're waiting to see what the ladies say first." Um, yeah. So the reason that I thought about this is because I love language. That's why I love Shakespeare so much, and I just find that sometimes even though I know what people are trying to say, I get the I get the impetus behind that, but that doesn't mean it's not illogical. All right. So to my way of thinking, there's a logical fallacy in that idea. Hello, how you doing? Oops, hold on. For some reason I don't hear you.
Trying to
Oh, there
unmute.
you
Okay.
go. Okay.
Oh, it wouldn't unmute.
Okay.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm excellent. Thank you for being here. So what are your thoughts?
I have a lot of thoughts and I see it two different ways, I guess. I want to say that I am a very it's all men until it's no men person. But lately, as in of this year, I can see where especially YT women have held up the patriarchy since the beginning of colonization. And especially patriarchy in this country has been also held up by YT women. It has been very betraying to see women this year stand beside men that are breaking apart what we have fought for since the 1800s and been allowed to fight for since the 1800s. But I will never be against all men fight either. And that's my beginning of this conversation.
Okay. Thank you for that. You
Mhm.
definitely covered a lot of ground there. Um, so what made you start to turn the tide into thinking that maybe that idea of it's all men until it's no men maybe isn't as precise as it could be, or maybe isn't exactly the message that's necessary?
It's not that it's not necessary, it's that we aren't as um, avoidance of the guilt as well. We aren't as neglectful in, no, let me rephrase that. We are impactful in patriarchy. We have a hand in it as well, as far as oppressing women,
I happen
especially
to
women of
agree.
color.
I happen to
And
agree. Those are
yes,
great points, and I'm glad you brought that up. So let's try to take them one by one. Um, so let's start with my premise. If I were to say that men should not believe all women until no women lie, is that logical?
no,
Okay. So why is it logical to say it's all men until it's no men?
because until men can be accountable and really be accountable as far as breaking down the patriarchy,
Okay, so let me get an idea of what you think the patriarchy is exactly.
white supremacy.
Okay. So you know that that means that it's maybe less than 1% of men who are running the quote unquote patriarchy?
No, it's not.
Or do you think that all men are just running down the streets clicking their heels every day because we're part of the patriarchy?
I think that unless you speak out against it, you're a part of it.
Okay, fine. So are you speaking out against women lying in court?
No, I'm not.
So
Because what
you
is the
must
percentage of
so
it?
you must be part of it then.
If I find out that there was one, yes, I would be.
You think that no women have ever lied in court?
No, I'm not saying that women don't lie.
Okay. So I'm right now. Your logic is inconsistent.
No,
Nothing personal.
what is the stats on women lying in court versus men not showing up for court, men not showing up at home, or men not showing up for families?
Well, why does that matter? Because it's not is what you're basically trying to do, and this is why I think
It's
that
flip it on men
that saying is illogical is because you're holding one standard for men and not holding women to the same standard.
because I need information on what is the statistics of women lying in court or women lying on reports
Well,
versus
if
what they're
it's
not
wait, but
actually
it
reporting.
shouldn't matter because you're saying the saying is it's all until it's none. So it shouldn't matter what the stats are. If you agree that it happens, then it's all or none.
No,
Mhm.
because women are not the problem.
Oh, so a woman that lies and says that a man is the father of their child is not a problem,
I'm not saying that is not the problem, but that versus the amount of men making,
but it's all or none.
no, it's not. It's not all women.
But no, but I didn't say it was all women. It's all women until it's no women.
No,
Why not? If it's all men until it's no men, how come it's not all women until it's no women?
because women aren't the problem in raping children and domestic violence.
Well, you're wrong about the second part.
Then what is
The
the stats
numbers are
versus,
yeah. If you go to probably the best website for women to go to on this is RAIN because they are recognized as the largest organization that advocates for women, especially in DV and assault cases. And if you look at the stats there, you'll see that DV is not as one sided as you are led to believe. And frankly, if you're making these bold statements, it surprises me that you don't know the stats.
Because every time that I've looked at these stats, it's always usually LGBTQ stats. And then those stats are used for targeting those marginalized communities. That's why I don't bring those stats up.
Okay, but that's not all the stats that I'm talking about. Obviously, if we're talking about a category of something that happens like DV, then you have to look at all the stats. Although it is worse in the rainbow community, like the highest incidence of DV is amongst lesbian couples.
And that's why it's targeted. That's why I don't bring it up.
What do you mean? That's why it's targeted.
Because if they are a couple versus a regular domestic heterosexual couple, then their domestic violence is going to be up. Like, what is it with
Let's keep saying
male,
DV just so we don't
male
get dinged.
DV? Yes.
So
Okay.
I'm sorry. What was your point? If
What
what
is the difference in this and male DV?
well, maybe nothing, but because if people are harming each other, they're harming each other. And if you look at all of the DV stats, you'll see that very often women are the perpetrators. Um,
Of
and about
Wait,
50
repeat that.
50% of the time, I think it's one way, women to men. So again,
Wait, repeat what you said.
basically what I'm saying is men and women are both engaged in DV. It's not one sided, and it's not overwhelmingly men. It's actually very close between men and women. So I understand that in America, there's lots of myths. Some of them get perpetrated by presidents. Obama kept, talking about the wage gap, but when you look into the wage gap, it's not nearly the way it's presented. But that's another subject. Let's keep on this subject. So what I don't understand, and again, I'm not attacking you, and this is nothing personal. I'm trying to understand your thought process. Because if you maintain the standard that it's all men until it's no men, then why isn't the standard applied to women the same way?
Because the stats don't match.
What does that mean?
The numbers are not matching. I'm
The numbers don't have to match. It's all or none. It's all
So
until it's
we
none,
should
right?
commit nothing and allow abuse to happen.
No one's talking about allowing abuse to happen. That's a silly turn to
No, it's not a
deviate.
silly
No,
term.
you're deviating from what I'm saying, and you know that. So let's try again. Your the stance on it's all men until it's no men, right? Basically, you're saying essentially that you're holding all men accountable for what a small percentage of men do.
A small percentage of men?
Yes.
No.
How? Oh, okay. What's the? Because I just looked
What
at
is
these
the
stats
most
yesterday.
violent? No, what is the most violent crime that happens in this country?
Go ahead, tell me.
Is it not against women?
Well, when you say most violent, or are you saying the amount of violence or the
Yes.
acts? Oh, okay. Um, it's not that far off. The violence to men and women is not that far separated. If
And
you're talking
we're
about
letting
the umbrella of violence, which of course has subcategories, but if you're talking about violence altogether, technically speaking, men suffer more violence than women do
from who?
from men. But
So
again,
men are violent to other men.
yeah,
Exactly. Not from
and some
women.
women are too. Yes, they
No.
are. Of
So
course they
men
are.
are violent to
Women are
men.
violent to
Men
men
are the
too.
most violent.
Okay, fine, fine. So if that's your stance, it's a weak stance because
It's not a weak
it
stance
is
because men are the one harming
you're
men.
still holding women to a different standard than you're holding men. If
I don't
it's
hold them to a different standard. I'm holding them
you
to the
are
numbers.
you are holding them to a different standard.
No, I'm holding them to the
How
numbers
come you
because
don't
how
want
come there aren't
all
many?
women? How come you don't want all women to stop what they're doing?
I didn't say that I didn't.
Okay, so then it's
So
all
there,
women until
why are
it's
there
no
more men
women
in
would be
prison?
appropriate.
Why are there more men committing more crimes when
Wait,
there's the
that's
amount of the
okay.
population is
Again,
more
you're
women
deviating
than
from the
men?
conversation. The
No, I'm not.
conversation, yes, you are. The conversation is, and I understand the passion that you have. I really do. And you know, I hope you're not taking what I'm saying personally because I'm not taking what you're saying personally. But there are men perpetrating the things that you're talking about, and I agree with you. But women are perpetrating other types of crimes. Like I said, the one estimate of how often a woman lies about paternity is up to 30%.
And I don't agree with that. I
I know
do
you don't
not
agree
agree
with
with
that.
that.
So should men say we're not going to believe all women until no women lie?
That's their choice, I
But I
guess.
mean, would that be logical?
Then, I think that they should agree to stop making legislation that stops AB if that's their stance on all women should not have.
I asked you a question, which I'll ask again.
No,
Is it logical to say we're going to hold everybody accountable for the minority of people in the country? Because it's not all women doing this, it's not all men doing this. So why is the argument acceptable? Well, you know, it's not all women, but if we say it's not all men, that's not acceptable.
because there are laws against women currently as far as the naming of the father. When you have a child, the name has to go to the father or like there are certain like over with your children.
You might want to consult a family attorney. I think you'll find that that is incorrect.
No, it's
Um,
actually not because
okay,
my
and maybe it's your
brother.
state, but overwhelmingly, courts favor women as far as paternity.
Why is that?
I don't know, you know, but when you're talking about who gets custody most often and all that other stuff, and
Do
the
you know
stat.
why that is?
Go ahead, tell me.
Because fathers don't show up to court.
Okay. Again, I mean, I saw a TED talk from a female divorce attorney. That's not what she was saying.
I don't care what the TED Talk says. That's statistics.
Right. See that's when the conversation starts to become untenable. Is when I say something and then someone says I don't care.
Uh,
That's actually kind of
because you
rude.
said it's from a
But that's
TED
actually kind
Talk.
of rude.
Because you said it was from a
I
TED
said it
Talk.
was from a female divorce attorney.
A
So
woman, a woman.
the fact that she was giving a TED talk, does that invalidate her whole career?
It doesn't mean she's correct.
I didn't say she was correct. I told you where I got it. I told you where I heard it. All
But
right.
that's hearsay.
And
Is
I've,
that right
okay.
or no?
Is it hearsay? It would be if everything she said wasn't corroborated in what actually happens in court. Like, for instance, can can a woman take a child out of state without informing the father?
No.
Yes, she can. Yes, she can. But a man can't. A man can't take a child
Why
out of
don't
state.
you get Jessica up here and you can ask her?
I might, if Jessica wants to come up, certainly. But so, is Jessica a divorce attorney?
No, but as mothers, we know this from having children, from with divorce uh, situations, that we cannot do that.
Okay, I mean that's I've heard a lot of attorneys talk about this, but maybe you know more than the attorneys do. It's possible. Um, Sorry, I'm trying to catch up on some of the commentary here, but so again, let's try to reset and go back to where the conversation started. If you accept the premise and believe it's logical to say it's all men until it's no men, which you have said you accepted, then why isn't the same true when we say it's all women until it's no women?
Because there's not enough consistency. There's not enough reporting when crimes and things really happen for women to be accountable enough. Like, there's not enough reporting
I don't know
done
what
by
that
women
means. What
because
does
women
what
are
we can only
scared.
right, and men generally don't report either, but we do have reports. We have statistics on everything that we're talking about, right? So that means some people are reporting it. And so again, if it's logical to say it's all women, it's all men until it's no men, then it must be logical to say it's all women until it's no women.
If if we are lying to the rate that men are lying, then sure.
Oh, so if you're lying less, it's okay.
I mean, I guess if one out of whatever, however many women are lying, then sure, all women.
Okay. All right. So interesting. Let's see what. All right. So you could stay up if anybody else wants to come up and add to the conversation. Brian
And you
seems to have
can
some.
drop me down because I'm tired of being called delusional by the people in your comments.
Well, that's not me calling you that, but if you want to be dropped down, that is fine. But I do thank you for being willing to come up and have a difficult
Thank
conversation. I
you. I
truly
appreciate
appreciate
it.
it.
No, I do appreciate it very much.
All right.
I
Excellent.
appreciate you. Thank you.
All right. Okay. So now, Brian, I thought I saw you. Hold on. Pink Nikki, that the idea that men can't talk about this, that doesn't seem logical to me because we all should be able to talk about everything. And if you don't want to be part of the conversation, that's your business. But you know, I'm trying to understand things. And if we're not allowed to ask questions, I don't see how anything gets understood. Brian, I thought you requested up. Let me invite you again, or invite you. I didn't invite you the first time.
Yeah, I'm
Here we
here.
go. There you go. Hey, Brian. All
Yeah.
right. So
Yeah.
so let's first of all, I understand what you said in the commentary, but I don't want you to repeat that because it's not necessary.
I
So
didn't mean it.
no
I
no
didn't
no no
mean it.
easy easy. I'm just asking you for a favor, and you could
Yeah.
do with that what you will. But so what do you think about the idea that if it's all men until it's no men, then logically it should be if it's all women until it's no women.
Yoda, I hitchhike on every single syllable that you said. It was common sense. It was non ideological. It was just like, wait a minute, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. How is that not registering with you? And the only and I use that D word because like what you were saying made such sense. Like I was sitting watching my screen,
Yeah.
nodding my head up and down, like
However,
yes,
however, I'll just say this, and pardon me for interrupting you. Just because someone has a different opinion than me or you doesn't mean there's something wrong with them. It's just a difference of opinion.
fair point. That's a fair point. And I'll apologize to the lady if she took offense to it, because and thanks for straightening my thinking out. But how is it fair to make a statement like that for one sex, for males, and then say, well, no, but it's not okay if you reverse that and you flip it on us? That's not okay.
Good. And so since we have a lot more people in than we did before,
Yeah.
since it's mercifully short, I'll beg everyone's indulgence that already saw this, but for the people who have not seen my post, this is what I posted, and the goal of this post was discussion and understanding. So here we go. It's all women until it's no women. Let's talk about it. Women have lied to the police. Women have lied in civil court. Women have lied in family court. Women have lied in divorce court. Women have lied in criminal court. Women have lied about a man being the father of their child. Should men say they can't believe all women until no women lie? Do you see the logical fallacy there? Is it the same logical fallacy that's contained in "it's all men until it's no men"? Please discuss in the comments. All right. So for anyone who's just joining us and now you've heard what we're talking about, if anybody else wants to come up, please feel free to request up. So thank you for allowing me the space to do that. So, and here's the thing. I hope that people understand that what I said in the post was that the concept of "it's all women or until it's no women" is illogical. There's a logical fallacy there. That's what I'm trying to say, that both of them are illogical. Not that, one is logical and one isn't, because that doesn't make sense. It's the same idea expressed in both. So if we change the gender, then it doesn't change the meaning of the idea, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that. And going back to whenever it was, 2017, you remember the Me Too movement. You know how many guys checked out of the dating marketplace when that happened? Women don't lie. They don't lie. You have to believe every single woman. And guys just said, wow, it seems like the table got flipped on us and the odds are not in our favor. And I got a lot to lose. I think I'm just going to check out.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a first world problem, but I get your point. But how about this? How about if we start to introduce nuance into the conversation? So instead of just a blanket, we just should believe everybody. How about we should pay attention to everybody? If a woman brings this up, if she says something happened to her, we should take that seriously. We should make sure that the person that she accuses has to face charges and all that other stuff. But just like women's names are kept anonymous when they accuse a man, I think the man's name should be kept anonymous also, just in case it turns out, as it does sometimes, right? Not a whole lot, just sometimes. Then there's no harm to either party, because there are too many examples of this. And even if you say it's only 2% of the time, because when I look at the stats from all of the organizations that protect women, they say that it's anywhere from 2 to 10%. So let's be conservative and say that 2% of the accusations are false. Well, look at it like this. If I hand you 100 jelly beans and I say 2 of them have poison in it that is lethal, are you going to eat any one of them?
Probably not.
Why
The
take the
same way that
chance?
if you told me, yeah, the same way that if you told me the potential for 2 out of 10 of these parachutes before you jump out of the plane is going to be defective, I'd say you go first. I'm going to sit here and eat my peanut.
Yeah.
Go
So
ahead.
that's all I'm attempting to do, is because it's all men until it's no men, in my opinion, is an extreme statement. I understand the motivation behind it, and I have dedicated my life to protecting the women in my life from men who are harmful. So I want the same thing women want. However, extremes can have consequences. Like, if we just believed Amber Heard, what would have happened? Johnny Depp would be in
Okay.
jail right now, right?
I gotta be honest with you. Going into that trial, when it was being hyped and promoted, I kind of looked at Johnny Depp and being a wild card and kind of who he is and the way that he presents himself, and I kind of thought to myself, bro, it's going to be a long day for you in this trial. And when all of a sudden the cards started being flipped over and the evidence started being examined and revealed, that was my holy SHIT moment. Like, wow.
Right. So, like I said, I think the way to mitigate that is keep the man's name private, just like you do the woman's name. And we already know that the overwhelming cases, the man is going to be found guilty. That's a given. That's just true. But in the case when it's a false accusation, let's protect that man's reputation because he is an innocent man, right? Because if it's a false accusation, that means the man is innocent.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, let's take it seriously. Let's do the whole thing that we need to do to get to the truth, but let's understand that people lie. And that's not the area where they lie the most. The scariest statistic that I saw is that up to 30% of women who claim a man is the father of their child are lying, right? And again, even, I've seen ranges from 10 to 30%. So even if you go conservatively and say 10, why aren't we willing to, to just pump the brakes on this extreme thinking and say, look, it's clearly not all men doing this, and it's clearly not all women doing this. So let's meet somewhere in the middle where some sanity can be interjected into the conversation, and maybe we'll get some better understanding of things.
You know, Yoda, I went through a divorce up here in Illinois after a 25-year marriage, and infidelity was involved on her side of it. And I actually found out about it from one of her friends who was also close to me, and she said, "I can't sleep at night anymore, and I need to share this." Anyway, my dad always instilled in me like if they step outside of the marriage, that's it. That's you can't get back from there. So I hired a good attorney. There was about in the estate that we had, it was about $5 million total that was going to be somehow or another split up. And my attorney, who was a woman, told me you're not in a good situation. And I said, you saw my write up, you saw what happened, you saw who transgressed the marriage. What do you mean I'm not in a good position? She said, well, for men in Illinois, you're not in the best possible position. You'd be in a better position if you were in Texas. I said, so is that. Anyway, going fast forward into 6 months, the amount of bullshit that I saw, it was like, who was I married to? Who was this? Like Chris Rock says, when you first meet somebody, you're not meeting them, you're meeting their representative.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the mask slips and the real person is revealed. And it finally came down to it was starting to get so petty and nitpicky. I told my attorney, I said, you know something, I'm just if I take two and she takes three, can we end this thing? I want out. I want out. I don't want to fight for $500,000. I don't want to fight for this. I want out. I want my peace and I want my quiet back. See if they'll fly with that. Within four weeks, the gavel came down, the divorce was granted. You take three, I'll take two. Have a good life. I didn't want to be part of the darkness that I was experiencing. It was, you talk about ruminating. I'm talking about going all the way through the night and maybe falling asleep at 10 o'clock in the morning because of the how could I have been so stupid and all that stuff? Here, it's worth this money to me. Give it to her. Get her the fuck gone out of my life.
Yeah, it was William Cosgrove, I'm sorry, Congreve, William Congreve, who wrote, Heaven has no rage like love to hatred turned, nor hell a fury like a woman scorned. That was William's opinion. And Cynthia, you are right. Rock is not a moral standard, and that wasn't a moral idea. It was what I think a very common thing that very often both men and women send representatives to their dates. I don't. I made it because I thought about it when I got back into the dating world. It makes no sense to send your representative on a date because if she likes your representative, eventually she's going to meet the real you and she might be disappointed by that. And conversely, if she doesn't like your representative, she didn't get a chance to meet the real you and you lose out. So it's a lose-lose proposition. So, I definitely understand where you're coming from. Cynthia, you're saying you hate that? Be real. I'm not sure what you're referring to. Sorry.
Chris Rock may not be a moral standard, but
Yeah, but you
let
weren't
the
making
first
a
one
moral
love
argument.
it.
Yeah, you were just referencing something he said. But also, let's see. Cindy Holden says the baby's DNA should be on the BC, the birth certificate. Yeah, perhaps. Yeah, I just think that you know, and none of this is in service of trying to deny the experience that women have. I'm just broadening out the idea because it is like earlier the assertion was made that women suffer more violence than men do, and statistically that's not true. Men suffer more violence than women do. But again, that's not the point of all this. The point is to examine the logic of this idea all until it's none, right? Because it's just you're holding everyone accountable for what a small percentage do or does, right? So in the case of what men do to women and what women do to men, it's either way, it's not the majority of either population. What am I pretending about, Cynthia? Maybe you want to be more specific.
Either you like me or you don't. I didn't think you made it personal.
I don't. Yeah, I'm not following what that is. And I'm not trying to be opaque. I just really don't know what you're trying to tell me. You're saying stop pretending. I'm not pretending about anything. I don't need to. I'm not afraid of anything, so I don't need to lie or pretend or anything.
Does the chat agree with the host that men experience violence more than women do?
Well, by the way, that's not my opinion. That when I looked,
Imagine
because what I wanted to do to prepare for this is I wanted to go to the organizations that protect women and see what they had to say about this. And you find out very quickly that RAINN, RAINN.org, RAINN.org, they have all of these. Of course, there's other groups as well. And when I looked at all of the statistics, I found that it's very interesting that the narrative is all about what men are doing, and it doesn't include in the conversation what women are doing. If we're talking about one thing, yes, it skews to men, but if we're talking about another thing, then sometimes it skews to women. So in either case, it's not the majority of the population. It's not the majority of either population. It's not even close to the majority. So I don't understand this idea of all until it's none. It's not logical to hold an entire group accountable for what a small percentage of that group does. Soaring above Trinity says, I can't input. My wife and I don't physically fight each other. Well, that's good.
Well,
I don't think you have
to.
to have an opinion on this, but that's good.
Yeah. I don't know how much agreement you're going to find here, but I just wanted to come up and say that everything you say makes common sense. It's totally rational. And I think it's balanced. I think that the stuff that you put up there is based on facts. And for anybody not to go along or just emotionally or anecdotally say that they disagree with you, consider the source.
I have no problem with people disagreeing with me. I don't need people to agree or disagree with facts, because facts are facts, right? So, I knew going into this conversation that there were um, there was a lot of potential for people to get emotional. That's why I eased into it the way I did, because I don't want to be hurtful. I don't want to upset anybody. I gave women a chance to leave if they wanted to, but that doesn't matter. Even if you say, okay, I can handle it. I decide to say, I know people get emotional about certain topics. And look, the men that perpetrate these crimes are absolutely disgusting. I personally hate men like that. Okay. I have confronted men like this many times, right? Because I will always protect the women in my life. I think that's part of what a man's job is. And even with that, even with what I'm saying about how awful men are that do these things, there are women doing things as well. It may not be the exact same thing at the exact same level, but imagine a man that is raising a child that's not his own. Or imagine the man that is sitting in prison for 20 to 30 years. Just recently, two men were exonerated of rape charges after one spent over 20 years, another spent over 30 years in prison. So are we going to pretend that, that doesn't matter? Are we going to only say that the only thing we can talk about are things that affect women? I don't.
And are
I
you
don't.
going to go ahead and are you going to risk 7 to 10 years of your life going on the accusations of a woman close to you, a good friend, a sister, a family member? And are you going to go ahead and get physical with a dude based on her word?
I've never gotten physical with any of the men that I've confronted. I'm just a
Okay.
really scary dude when I'm angry.
Right,
And
right.
and
But it could happen.
the dudes that I talked to never touched those women again. Because
You got lucky.
I made
You got
no, it's
lucky.
not, it had nothing to do with luck. It has to do with who I am and how I communicate. I
Mhm.
sent them a message very clearly so that they understood what the consequences would be and how willing I was to enforce those consequences. And
Right.
when I'm angry, um, I I'm different. I'm not like I am right now. A switch gets flipped, and I can be terrifying. And so and almost nobody's ever seen that side of me, but a few men have, and I got my point across. So I agree with you. I don't think anyone should get physical and risk anything unless they see something happening in front of them. But, you know, if, I had women come up and tell me, hey, this guy put hands on me. So I said, all right, tell me where he is. And I went and talked to them, you know, and that was that. And I always, I remember this one time, um, this was a woman that I really, really cared about. And I was really furious that this guy put hands on her. And I asked three of my buddies to come with me. And when he and I started getting into the conversation, he was like, "Oh, you're so tough. You had to bring three guys here with you." I said, "Oh, just so you understand, I asked them to pull me off you if I started trying to end your life. They're here to
Well,
protect you, not to protect me."
you know what? A friend of mine who's a cop told me the most horrific calls that they get are either on a Friday or a Saturday night on a domestic because it's a jump ball. Is alcohol involved? Are there any weapons in the house? It's an emotionally charged situation, extremely volatile, and in a fit of fury, where the protestations afterwards, I swear to God, I didn't mean to do it. I didn't mean to do it. He came in. I didn't even know he was a cop. I was blind rage. Okay. Why don't you go over there and tell his wife or his widow now and his three kids that? I mean, it's the worst situation when you say, I protect the women in my life. That's like my dad always used to tell me. He said, before you go ahead and take any action, including with a pen or your tongue, let the world take a turn. The situation will still be there tomorrow.
Yeah, I understand that. But that's not me. If a one I care about, because the women that know me that I care about, they know I'm the nuclear option, right? They've probably tried to talk to the dude. They probably even might have called the police already. And so now break glass instead of in case of emergency and bring me into it, and I'll take care of it. And I have never put my hands on any one of them.
Mm.
But I mean, listen, which whatever gets you through the night. If you need to take a day to think about it, that's wise. That makes sense. But if someone hurts a woman that I know and care about, then the next day nothing's going to change.
Back in the day, my sister used to have a loft on Broome Street in New York, which was right next to the pizza parlor that John Gotti used to go to all the time. And you
Rays?
got, huh?
You're talking about
No,
that Rays, the real Rays?
no, it's Sal's Pizza
Oh, Sal's. Okay.
on Broome Street, and I forget whatever intersects it.
Oh, I was thinking about Mott. There was on Elizabeth and Mott. There used to be a real Rays, but I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Right. And anyway, but they've got soldiers that man the neighborhoods on different corners. They got soldiers out there, and my sister was in the garment business down there. She was in the schmata business, and the guys on the street that kept an eye out on it liked her, and somehow or another she hooked up with this guy who was her boyfriend for quite a few years. But when he hit the bottle, occasionally he'd get physical with my sister. And, I'm out here in Chicago. She's there in New York. And one of them walked over to my sister one morning and noticed that she had a shiner. And he said, Lenny, what happened to you? And she said, nothing. He said, you look over in my direction and you nod your head, and we'll have 4 guys on the 3rd floor of your loft, and we'll take them out of there. And she never, you talk about the nuclear option. I don't know. Those guys would have ended up in the Hudson River. Or that guy would have ended up in the Hudson River someplace, sleeping with the fishes. But yeah, I don't know, Yoda. I don't know. Yeah, I'm 73 years old, got bladder cancer, prostate cancer, and all that kind of stuff. Not saying that to get you to feel sorry for you. I'm saying that if the clock secondhand is ticking faster for me these days, the way that things are going, don't light any candles for me. I've lived a good life, and I feel a little bit bad for my grandchildren and what have you, but I got no crystal ball and no way to go ahead and prognosticate what's going to happen here. No way of being able to do it. But I'm grateful for guys like you being on here talking about these things so that people can at least go ahead and let some steam off.
Yeah, my goal is, I'm just a curious person, and my goal is to examine things because, just because something is popular, just because the majority of people believe it, doesn't mean it's right. Just like, half the country in America thought it was cool to own people. And because the other half thought it was wrong, it led to a civil conflict. So, I don't get caught up in, well, a lot of people think this way. I don't give a shit. I think it was either Gandhi or Einstein that said something about like, even if you're the only person that knows the truth, it's still the truth, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But, well, I had a conversation with my second ex-wife yesterday. We had a video call, and we were talking about something similar to what you're talking about in terms of, what's going to happen in the future and things like that. And, it's a pretty shitty time, and it's hard to imagine that it's going to just resolve itself easily. I think we are in for it. I think horrible things are going to start happening, and it's going to get far worse before it gets better. Obviously, that's not what I want to see happen. But history kind of shows us what happens when countries start heading down the road of authoritarianism. And, where America is not the start of the road, it's at the end of the road. There are people I see, very intelligent people who, like me, are interested in history, and they're like, it's here already. It's not coming. Last year it was coming. 6 months ago it was coming. It's here now.
Right.
And so now we just got to figure out what to do about it. I am encouraged by the fact that Americans looked at what happened to Jimmy Kimmel and said, that's not the American way. Now, I'm not a patriot. I'm not rah-rah America, but I live here and people that I love live here. So I want things to be okay.
Somebody said Disney gave him his job back next Tuesday at 8:00.
I think it's tomorrow. I think it's tomorrow actually that he's back on.
Tomorrow.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why I got a glimmer of hope, is that like Americans used their leverage, and let's take a lesson from the Montgomery bus boycott that MLK led, because he figured out the same thing that we are now figuring out, which is the only way to get these people's attention is to disrupt their money. That's all oligarchs care about. They don't care about people. They don't care who has to suffer for their goals, but they do care about money. And so that's what we have to keep focusing on. Vote with our dollars. And hopefully, hopefully the oligarchs will look at Dump and the people like him one day and go, you know what? It's not worth the trouble. And then if that
And that,
happens, it'll be
yeah,
a peaceful resolution, which again, history teaches us that peaceful resolutions do happen, and they actually succeed more often than the non-peaceful ones.
and you just put your finger on the uniparty. It doesn't matter whether you're Democrat or Republican. The people that are running this country are the people that you just identified. Period.
Yeah.
They give to the left, they give to the right. It doesn't
Mhm.
make any. It's like if somebody was telling me these bankers funded both sides of the Napoleonic Wars. They funded both sides.
Yeah, like when I was talking to my ex-wife yesterday, because she was asking me about one of the countries in the Middle East currently inflicting a genocide on another country.
All right.
And I said, look, this is all about money. There are a few components to it. Number one, religion plays a role in this because that country that's the perpetrator right now.
Who, by the way, is calling balls and strikes on what we're doing over here.
Yeah. So the people that are religious think that they are the site of, Armageddon and the resurrection and all that other shit, right? So that's, and we also know that religion has infiltrated the military a lot. Okay. And of course, a lot of it's got to do with money. That's why the first thing that Dump put out was an AI thing about casinos and hotels and all that other shit. Because he never plays his cards close to his vest. He always lets us know what he's thinking. And the other part is just straight up hatred. But it is wild what's going on in the world. But again, I go back to history. And someone did a study, I think it was a female historian. She did a study on all protests from, I think, something like 1906 to 2006 or something like that. It was a long span. And she said that the peaceful protests succeeded way more often than the non-peaceful ones. So that gives me some hope that maybe this will resolve peacefully, but there's no guarantee of that because governments are very resistant to uprisings. These people don't want to let go of their money and their power, so they're going to do whatever they can to protect it, and they have no regard for life. So, Dump has already shown, especially with what's going on in Venezuela, that he's not even going to worry about whether they're innocent or guilty. He doesn't need any information. He just spots a target and blows it up. So we know where his head is at, right? And we've seen how he's deployed military and all that other shit. So I think we can extrapolate and say, yeah, if the people rise up, he is going to do everything he can to squash that. So I just hope that there's a peaceful way to do this. But it has to be done because otherwise, like ironically, my family left the Dominican Republic because of this shit. Because in 1966, there was a military uprising in DR. And so they wanted to get the fuck out of there. So it's crazy that the very thing that they ran away from now is happening in America.
Yeah, and when he started hearing protests from a lot of the people that campaigned for him based on what he said in his campaign speeches, and he kind of put the sole of his foot on top of the Schmepstein list, and a lot of his supporters are going, "What the fuck do you mean? What do you mean there's nothing on there?" Pam Bondi said, I got the files on my desk. I got this and I got that. And finally, like within a couple of days of saying that, he said, hey, if you didn't hear me the first time, I don't need you as a supporter anymore.
There you
I was like, what did he just say? Well, just like that?
go. Hold on, I gotta look something up. I know I might not have posted it. Shit. I found a dump quote from his inauguration. Oh, here we go. Oh, I didn't post this, but I'm gonna later. But so this was this year, January 20th, 2025. This is an excerpt from Dump's inaugural speech. Quote, after years and years of illegal and unconstitutional federal efforts to restrict free expression, I also will sign an executive order to immediately stop all government censorship and bring back free speech to America, end quote. Wait, is that, if that isn't fucking ironic, I don't know what is.
Yeah, it's like a jump ball at halftime.
But how wild is that? That's what he said. But you know, he's lied so many times. Nobody should be surprised by this.
Well, I'm going to hop in the shower before I hit the pillow here.
Well, I certainly encourage that. But thank you for coming up. I do appreciate your feedback, and you know, hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Yeah, always a pleasure.
Take care. All right, folks. Oh, Vicky's here. Sharing out the live. Look at that. What a trooper. As I mentioned earlier, Danny is not joining us this evening. He didn't do his live, and he's not doing my live tonight. But hopefully he is resting and doing the do. So, Vicky, I hope your weekend was good. Yeah, Danny's okay. He's just, age is what it is, right? You get older. Sometimes you got to rest more than when you were younger. I mean, I know that that's true for me, even at 61. So, Wyatt, what's up? So, and Danny's a trooper, man. Danny does this 3 hours at a clip, and on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, first he does 3 hours on his show, and then he comes on and supports me for another 2 hours. So he's just a beast. It catches up to you once in a while. It happened to me yesterday. Yesterday, I took like a 4-hour nap. And normally when I nap, it's like a half hour to an hour and a half. So I was just out. And I still fell asleep at a reasonable time. Quixote, yes, 70, and find myself taking more naps. Of course. I love naps. I try not to take naps because it tends to, if I nap too late, it disrupts my sleep pattern. But if I can catch one around midday or so, mid-afternoon, I'm pretty good. So anyway, I am happy that I brought this up. I'm glad that we got to discuss this topic because I think we need more rational thinking. I think we got to avoid fads and running with the group and leading with emotion, even though I understand that these are emotionally charged issues. When we're trying to solve problems, we can't use that same emotion. Einstein said a version of that. He said, you can't solve a problem with the same thinking that created the problem, right? So even though this is an emotionally charged issue, we have to keep calm and try to find solutions and also just identify what the actual problem is. And and be real about that. Like, I accept fully that there's a percentage of men in America that do horrendous shit to women. And I want all of those guys thrown in jail for the rest of their lives. However, I'm not going to hold every man accountable for what those guys do. That's just wrong. It's illogical. And that's why I wanted to challenge, that idea of it's all men until it's no men. Because there's just, if you look up logical fallacies and, you'll see that has to do with like gross generalizations, but it is a logical fallacy. All right. So, unless anybody wants to come up, I don't know, Vicky, if you feel like coming up, I can either keep talking to you or I can close out. Either way, I'm good. I accomplished what I set out to do, and that is get feedback from both men and women about my idea. I do miss Danny, though. But I feel better that he's resting because he needs to, so that's good. But I told him, my lives just aren't the same without him. What's the topic, bruh? Well, unfortunately, I'm closing up, so you won't get to find out. But thank you for being here. And thank you for everyone who participated. Again, I knew this was going to be a challenging conversation, but you were able to have it, and we all survived. So with that, thank you for the folks that were here and commented and gifted and tapped and shared and all that good stuff. Thank you for my panel. And I'm here Monday through Saturday, 10 p.m. Eastern. Until we meet again, peace, love, and granola. Talk to you soon.